The council chamber stretched wide and tall, built to hold beings from 47 different worlds. Some walked on legs, others floated in special pods filled with water or gas. A few needed machines just to survive in the shared atmosphere. But they all came together for one purpose: to decide the fate of the galaxy. High Counselor Vexthor stood at the center platform. His scales gleamed green and gold under the lights. He was old even by his species' long standards. He had led the Galactic Council for 300 years. His voice filled the chamber when he spoke. "We gather today to discuss the Silent Sector," Vexthor announced. His tongue flicked out, tasting the air as his kind did when making important decisions. "For 200 years we have left this region alone. 200 years of lost resources. 200 years of wasted potential." Ambassador Zakara clicked her mandibles together in agreement. She represented the hive worlds, where billions of her insect-like people worked as one mind. Her compound eyes reflected the data screens floating around the chamber. "The sector contains 12 star systems," she said. Her voice came through a translator that made her clicks and buzzes into words others could understand. "Rich in minerals. Perfect planets for colonization. And the primitive species we detected there long ago. Scanners show minimal electromagnetic output. They likely destroyed themselves with their crude nuclear weapons. Even if some survived, they pose no threat." Other counselors murmured in agreement. The logic seemed sound. Primitive species either destroyed themselves or stayed primitive. That was the way of things. The council had seen it happen across the galaxy for thousands of years. But one voice spoke against the majority. Counselor Tyrrell represented the Kelthans, a species that valued caution over ambition. He stood slowly, his blue skin darker than usual, a sign of concern among his people. "We detected those nuclear signatures 2 centuries ago," Tyrrell said quietly. "The sector has been silent since." Too silent. No broadcasts, no signals, no expansion into space. Either the species died or what? Vexthor interrupted. "They learned to hide?" "From us, impossible. The Council's sensors can detect a single ship from 10 light years away. If they had developed space travel, we would know." Tyrrell said nothing more. He had learned long ago that the Council rarely listened to caution. They had grown comfortable in their power. They believed themselves the masters of the galaxy, and perhaps they were. Their combined fleets numbered in the thousands. Their technology had not faced a real challenge in centuries. The vote came quickly. 43 voices for claiming the sector, only 4 against. The decision was made. Within 1 month, Council mining fleets would enter the Silent Sector and begin resource extraction. The primitives, if any remained, would be relocated to a reservation world. This was Council law. The strong ruled. The weak obeyed or perished. What the Council did not know was that the Silent Sector was watching. Far across the galaxy, in a system the Council had labeled Sector 001 Bravo, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in Earth's Defense Command Center. It was buried 3 miles beneath the Canadian Shield, one of the oldest rock formations on the planet. The room buzzed with quiet activity. Hundreds of officers monitored screens, tracked data, and maintained the most important secret in human history. Earth was not primitive. Earth was not defenseless. Earth had been listening to the Galactic Council for 50 years. Chen was 60 years old, but her eyes were sharp and her mind sharper. She had spent her entire adult life preparing for this moment. The moment when humanity's secret would be revealed. She had hoped it would never come. She had hoped the Council would prove worthy of trust. "They voted yes," reported Commander Marcus Webb, Chen's second in command. He was younger, barely 40, but he had earned his place through brilliance and dedication. "The mining fleets will arrive in 29 days. Chen nodded slowly. She had expected this outcome. The Council's history told the story clearly. They found primitive worlds and took what they wanted. They claimed it was for the greater good of the galaxy. They called it civilization. But Chen knew the truth. It was conquest wrapped in pretty words. "Show me the timeline again," she said. The main screen flickered to life. It showed 50 years of Earth's secret history. The history the Council knew nothing about. It began in 2197, when humanity's first faster-than-light probe ventured beyond the solar system. The probe was slow, primitive by galactic standards, but it worked. And it found something incredible. It found the Council. At first, Earth's leaders had been thrilled. They were not alone in the universe. They had dreamed of meeting other species, of joining a galactic community, of learning and growing together. But then they listened to the Council's broadcasts. They watched how the Council treated worlds less advanced than themselves. They saw the reservations where primitive species were kept like animals in zoos. They heard the debates where Council members discussed the proper way to deal with species that resisted. Earth's leaders made a choice. They chose silence. For 50 years, humanity had held its breath. They stopped all radio broadcasts that might reach beyond the solar system. They masked their electromagnetic signatures. They built their ships and stations in the shadows of planets and moons where Council sensors could not detect them. They learned everything they could about Council technology, studying every broadcast, every data packet, every casual transmission, and they waited. Dr. James Okafor entered the command center. He moved quickly despite his 70 years. His team had just finished analyzing the latest Council transmission. As Earth's lead xenotechnology expert, he had spent decades reverse engineering alien designs from intercepted blueprints and broadcasts. "Admiral," he said, slightly out of breath, "we have full specs on their mining ships. Fusion drives, basic particle shields, automated systems. Nothing we cannot handle. Can we stop them without revealing our full capabilities?" Chen asked. Okafor hesitated. "We can try, but if they push, if they escalate, we will have to show our hand." Chen looked at the screen showing Earth from orbit. Her home, 7 continents, 5 oceans, 12 billion people who had no idea that first contact was about to happen. People who lived their lives in peace, unaware that a galactic empire was coming to their doorstep. "Prep the stealth fleet," she ordered. "Position them at Jupiter. If the Council enters the solar system, they get one warning. Just one. After that, we show them that silence was a choice, not a weakness." Webb moved to execute the orders. But Okafor stayed behind. "Sarah," he said quietly, using her first name as he did when they were alone. They had known each other for 40 years. They had built Earth's defense together. "Are we ready for this?" "Really ready?" Chen turned to face him. In her eyes was the weight of responsibility. The responsibility of speaking for an entire species. The responsibility of deciding between peace and war. "No," she said honestly. "We are not ready. We will never be ready. But ready or not, the Council is coming. And they need to learn that humanity is not prey. We are not primitives to be relocated or conquered. We are equals whether they like it or not." She looked back at the screen. 50 years we have prepared. 50 years we have hoped they would prove us wrong, that they would be worthy of the stars they rule. But hope is not a strategy, James, and silence only works until someone forces you to speak. Okafor nodded and left to oversee the preparations. Chen remained in the command center watching the clock count down. 29 days until the Council arrived. 29 days until Earth's silence ended. 29 days until the galaxy learned that humanity had been watching all along. In the Galactic Council chamber, Vexthor dismissed the assembly. He felt satisfied with the day's work. Another sector claimed. More resources for the Council. It was routine, boring even. Just another primitive world to be absorbed into the galactic order. He had no idea that the silent sector was about to become the loudest place in the galaxy. The mining fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 12 massive ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. They were built for function, not beauty. Long, cylindrical bodies covered in drilling arms and storage pods. Each ship was 3 miles long and carried a crew of 5,000. Fleet Commander Krill reviewed the sensor data from his command chair. He was a Drachnor, a species that had conquered space travel 2,000 years ago. His people had evolved on a high-gravity world, making them short and incredibly strong. Krill's gray skin was marked with battle scars from his younger days as a soldier. Now he commanded mining operations which he found boring but profitable. "Scan complete," reported his sensor officer. "Multiple rocky planets. Gas giants. Asteroid belt rich in rare metals. No artificial satellites detected. No energy signatures. The system is dead," Krill grunted in satisfaction. "Begin operations at the 4th planet's moons. They show the highest concentration of helium-3. We will fill the quotas in 2 months and move to the next system." The fleet moved deeper into the solar system. They passed Neptune, then Uranus, heading for Jupiter. The ship's massive engines left trails of exotic particles in their wake. They made no effort to hide their presence. Why would they? This was Council space now. On Earth, alarms screamed in the Defense Command Center. "They are heading straight for Jupiter," Webb reported. "Estimate arrival at the Galilean moons in 6 hours." Admiral Chen had expected this. Jupiter's moons were the obvious first target. Europa alone contained more water than all of Earth's oceans. Ganymede and Callisto were rich in minerals. To the Council, they were resources to be harvested. To humanity, they were home. Europa Station housed 1,500 scientists and their families. Ganymede had 3 underground cities with a combined population of 50,000. Callisto hosted Earth's largest shipyard, hidden beneath the moon's icy surface. The Council's sensors could not detect them through the ice and rock, but if the mining ships started drilling, they would find them quickly. "Send the message," Chen ordered. A single transmission burst from a relay satellite near Mars. It was in Galactic Common, the trade language used by all Council species. The message was simple and clear. "Leave. You are not welcome here." On the mining fleet's command ship, the communications officer jumped in surprise when the message appeared on his screen. "Commander," we received a transmission. From inside the system, Krill read the message and laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound that shook his massive chest. "Primitives!" I told the Council there might be survivors. "They hide in caves and dare to order us away." He turned to his weapons officer. "Locate the transmission source." "Mars, Commander." "There appears to be a small facility on the surface. Very basic construction." Mars Research Station 7 was indeed basic. It housed only 30 people, scientists studying the red planet's geology and atmosphere. They were civilians, unarmed, conducting peaceful research. They had volunteered to send the warning, knowing the risk. Dr. Sarah Martinez stood in the station's communications room. She was 32 years old and had spent 5 years on Mars. She loved the red planet's quiet beauty. She loved being part of humanity's expansion into space, even if the rest of the galaxy did not know about it yet. "The Council fleet is changing course," said her colleague, Dr. Yuki Tanaka. His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. "They are coming here." Martinez had expected this too. Admiral Chen had been clear during the briefing. The Council would not take humanity's warning seriously. They would investigate. They would find the research station. And they would learn that humans were more advanced than their sensors suggested. What Martinez had not expected was the violence. 3 Council shuttles landed near the research station. Their landing thrusters scorched the Martian soil black. Hatches opened and soldiers emerged. Not miners, soldiers. The Council had sent their military police, troops trained to handle unrest on conquered worlds. The lead soldier was of Rex, a species that stood 8 feet tall with 4 arms and thick armor-like skin. He carried a plasma rifle that could melt through steel. His name was Sergeant Vorn, and he had broken up 36 primitive uprisings in his career. He expected this to be the same. The research station had no weapons, no defenses. The main airlock opened and Dr. Martinez stepped out in her pressure suit. Behind her, the rest of the crew watched through windows. "I am Dr. Sarah Martinez," she said through her suit's external speaker. "This is a research facility. We are peaceful, but you must leave this system." "This is your only warning," Vorn laughed. It sounded like grinding rocks through his translator. "Primitive gives warnings to the Council. You amuse me, little creature. Your world is now Council property. You will be relocated." "We will not," Martinez said firmly. "Leave now." Vorn's amusement died. In his experience, primitives did 2 things when confronted with Council authority. They either submitted or they fled. They did not stand their ground. They did not make demands. "Stubborn primitives die," Vorn said. He raised his rifle. What happened next was broadcast across every Council frequency. Vorn's rifle fired. The plasma bolt hit Martinez in the chest. Her suit burst open. She died instantly in the thin Martian atmosphere. The other soldiers opened fire. The research station's transparent aluminum windows shattered. Scientists died at their workstations, at their beds, in their laboratories. In 90 seconds, 29 humans were dead. Only Dr. Tanaka survived, hiding in a maintenance tunnel. Vorn transmitted the video to the mining fleet. Resistance eliminated. This is how the Council handles primitive defiance. Fleet Commander Krill received the video. He felt no remorse. In his worldview, this was justice. The primitives had been warned. They had been offered relocation. They chose death instead. He approved the video for broadcast on Council news channels. Let other primitive worlds see what happens when you defy the Council. The video reached Earth 15 minutes later. It played on every screen in the Defense Command Center. Admiral Chen watched in silence as Dr. Martinez died. As scientists were gunned down, as human blood stained the red Martian soil even redder, Webb's face was white with rage. Okafor turned away from the screen, unable to watch. Officers throughout the center stood frozen, struggling to process what they had seen. Chen felt something cold and hard settle in her chest. She had prepared for war. She had hoped to avoid it, but hope was dead now, killed on Mars along with 29 peaceful scientists. Recall all civilian ships to Earth, she said quietly. Activate the defense network, scramble the stealth fleet, and convene the United Nations Security Council immediately. Admiral, Webb said, his voice shaking with controlled fury. Your orders for the fleet? Chen looked at him. Her eyes were dry, but her jaw was set. No engagement yet. I want them to understand what they have done. I want them to see what is coming. 6 hours later, Chen stood before the United Nations Security Council. The chamber was filled with representatives from every nation on Earth. They had seen the video. They knew what had happened on Mars. For 50 years we have stayed hidden, Chen began. For 50 years we have prepared for the day when the Galactic Council would come. We hoped they would prove worthy of the stars they rule. We hoped they would be partners, not conquerors. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. They murdered our people. They invaded our home. They broadcast it as entertainment. They think we are primitives to be crushed. They are wrong. The Secretary General of the United Nations spoke. Admiral Chen, you are asking us to go to war with a galactic empire. They have thousands of ships, dozens of species, technology we barely understand. No, Chen corrected. They barely understand us. For 50 years we have studied them. We know their weaknesses. We know their tactics. We know their ships. And most importantly, we know something they do not. What is that? Asked the Chinese representative. They have never fought humans before, Chen said. They have never faced a species that adapts, that improvises, that refuses to surrender. They have spent centuries bullying primitives. We are about to teach them the difference between primitive and patient. The vote was unanimous. Earth would reveal itself. Earth would demand justice, and if the Council refused, Earth would take it. Admiral Chen returned to the Defense Command Center. She stood before the main screen showing the Council mining fleet still approaching Jupiter. Open all channels, she ordered. I want every ship, every station, every Council world to hear this. When the channel opened, she spoke clearly and without emotion. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command. You have entered our star system without permission. You have murdered our citizens. You claim this system for your Council. We reject your claim. We reject your authority. We reject your presence. You have 24 hours to leave our system. If you remain, you will face the consequences. This is your only warning. Fleet Commander Krill received the transmission. He laughed again, but this time with less confidence. The transmission had come from everywhere and nowhere. It used encryption he had never seen, and the threat in the human's voice was real. Scan the system again, he ordered. Find their homeworld. I want orbital bombardment coordinates. What happened next made Krill's blood run cold. Fleet Commander Krill stared at his sensor displays in disbelief. The numbers made no sense. Where seconds ago his scanners showed an empty solar system, they now revealed an empire. How many ships? He demanded. His sensor officer's voice cracked with stress. 817, Commander. No, wait, 823. They keep appearing. They were there all along. They were hiding. Impossible, Krill whispered. But the evidence was right in front of him. The third planet from the star, the blue world they had dismissed as primitive, bristled with weapons. Orbital platforms that could crack moons, particle beam arrays that could boil away atmospheres, and ships. So many ships. The human vessels were unlike anything in Council design. They were built low and aggressive, covered in angles that deflected sensor beams. They moved with precision, taking up positions that blocked every escape route from the solar system. Whoever commanded this fleet understood tactics at a level Krill had rarely seen. A new transmission came through. The same human woman's face appeared on every screen in his command ship. Commander Krill of the Draknor species, Admiral Chen said, you murdered 29 human beings on Mars. You broadcast their deaths as propaganda. You invaded our home system and refused our warning. The Galactic Council will answer for these crimes. Krill found his voice. You are primitives! How do you have this technology? We learned it from you, Chen replied. For 50 years we have intercepted every broadcast, every data transmission, every careless communication your council has sent into space. We studied your ships. We studied your weapons. We found every weakness, every flaw, every shortcut your engineers took because no one had challenged you in centuries. She leaned forward, her eyes hard as stone. You grew comfortable, Commander. You forgot that survival requires constant vigilance. You forgot that the universe is dangerous. Let me remind you. The transmission ended. Krill immediately tried to contact Council High Command. Emergency signal. We need reinforcements. The silent sector is not primitive. I repeat, not primitive. They have a full fleet. We are outnumbered and outpositioned. The reply came from High Counselor Vexithor himself. Impossible. Our scouts would have detected such development. You are panicking over sensor ghosts. These are not ghosts. Krill shouted. I have 800 enemy contacts on screen right now. There was a pause. Then Vexthor's voice came back colder. If what you say is true, then you have led us into a trap. Hold your position. The Armada will arrive in 3 days. Do not engage unless attacked. Hold position. Krill looked at his tactical display. Human ships surrounded his fleet. They held every advantage. We should retreat now while we still can. Retreat from primitives? Vexthor's voice dripped with contempt. You will hold your position. That is an order. Vexthor out. The channel closed. Krill felt fear grip his heart. He was a veteran of a dozen campaigns, but those had been against pirates and rebels. Not against this. Not against a coordinated military force that had prepared for 50 years. All ships defensive formation, he ordered. Shields to maximum. Prepare weapons, but do not fire first. We wait for the Armada. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the Council fleet cluster together like frightened animals. It was the right tactical move when outnumbered. Put all your shields together, create overlapping fields of fire, make yourself one hard target instead of 12 easy ones. But it also meant the Council was reacting, not acting. They were already beaten in their minds. Now it was just a matter of proving it. Status on the Armada? She asked. Webb pulled up long-range sensor data. 4,000 ships gathering at their staging point. Estimate 3 days until arrival, just like they said. Every major Council species is contributing ships. OK4 studied the Council fleet composition data. They have bigger ships than us, Admiral. Their dreadnoughts are twice our size. They have weapons that can glass planets. Size is not everything, Chen said. What else do we know? Their ships are old, Okafor continued. The newest design is 40 years old. They have not innovated in decades. Why would they? No one challenged them. They just built more of the same ships, bigger and slower. Chen nodded. This was what she had counted on. And our ships? Fast, agile. Every major system has 3 redundancies. Our weapons are smaller, but we have more of them. And our electronic warfare capabilities are centuries ahead of theirs. Okafor smiled grimly. They still use centralized computer control. We can hack them. Then we do not wait for their armada to arrive, Chen decided. We strike now. We show the Council and the galaxy what happens when you murder humans. Webb, activate Operation Mongoose. Webb grinned. Operation Mongoose had been his idea. Launching now. From hidden positions throughout the solar system, 100 small drones launched toward the Council fleet. They were not weapons. They were messengers. Each drone carried the video of the Mars massacre. Each drone transmitted on every frequency the Council used. The drones spread across known space faster than light, jumping through Council relay networks, hijacking communication satellites, breaking into planetary data grids. Within an hour, every Council world saw what had happened on Mars. They saw Sergeant Vorn murder Dr. Martinez. They saw soldiers gun down unarmed scientists. They heard Commander Krill approve the video for broadcast. The reaction was instant. On 47 worlds, protests erupted. Not all Council species agreed with the treatment of primitives. Many remembered when their own worlds had been primitive. Some Council members had been conquered and absorbed against their will centuries ago. The video of Mars became a symbol, evidence that the Council's noble words about civilization and order were lies. Evidence that they were conquerors who murdered the innocent. In the Council's capital city, High Counselor Vexthor watched his carefully built order begin to crack. His political enemies, always present but always quiet, found their voices. They called for his resignation. They called for investigations. They called for the fleet to withdraw from human space. Vexthor refused. To retreat now would show weakness, would show that the Council could be defied. He sent a message to the Armada. Increase speed. Arrive in 2 days, not 3. Prepare for full assault. The human homeworld is to be captured intact. The humans themselves are to be relocated. This is my final word. But the galaxy was no longer listening to Vexthor alone. Other voices were rising. And in human space, Admiral Chen was about to teach the Council their first lesson in modern warfare. All ships, she broadcast to her fleet, you have your targets. Remember your training. Remember Mars. Show them what humanity is capable of, but remember also who we are. We do not murder civilians. We do not destroy without purpose. We are not the Council. We are better. Now move out. The human fleet split into hunter-killer groups. Each group contained 12 ships designed to work together perfectly. They had trained for years in simulation and in secret exercises in the outer solar system. Now it was real. The first group approached the Council fleet's flank. The Council ships detected them and turned to face the threat. Their weapons powered up, their shields strengthened. They prepared for a conventional engagement. Then the human ships did something no Council fleet had ever seen. They split up. 6 ships dove under the Council formation. 6 ships looped above. They moved in 3 dimensions like fish in water, using every axis of space. The Council ships, designed to fight in orderly battle lines, struggled to track targets above and below simultaneously. Their weapons could not rotate fast enough. Their sensors locked onto one target while another slipped past. The human ships fired, not massive energy beams that could be seen and countered, but missiles. Hundreds of small, smart missiles that dodged and weaved. Missiles that the Council point defense systems were too slow to stop. Explosions rippled across one Council mining ship's hull. Shields flickered and failed. The ship was not destroyed, but it was crippled. Its engines went dark. Its weapons went offline. Pull back! Commander Krill ordered his fleet. Reform at Jupiter. But the human ships did not give them time. A second hunter group struck from a different angle. More missiles. More precision strikes. Another Council ship went dark. On the third human attack, the Council fleet finally managed to fire back. Energy beams lanced across space, powerful enough to boil metal. But the human ships were already moving, already dodging. The beams hit nothing but vacuum. They are too fast, Krill's weapons officer reported. Our targeting systems cannot lock on. Krill watched his fleet fall apart. Ships collided as they tried to maneuver. Captains shouted contradictory orders. Discipline broke down. His fleet was twice the size of the attacking human force, but they were losing. Emergency retreat, he finally ordered. All ships jump out of the system immediately. But when his navigator tried to engage the faster-than-light drive, nothing happened. The ship's jump engine was offline. Not damaged, just offline. What is happening? Krill demanded. Unknown, Commander. The engine has power, but it will not engage. It is like something is blocking the activation signal. On Earth, Dr. Okafor watched his masterpiece at work. For 5 years, his team had studied Council FTL technology. They had found something beautiful. The jump drives used a specific activation frequency, a frequency that could be jammed. The Council Armada arrived like a hammer falling from the sky. 4,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. They formed a wall of metal and energy 50,000 miles across. Dreadnoughts the size of cities led the formation, carriers that held thousands of fighter craft, destroyers bristling with weapons, cruisers equipped with planet-killer missiles. It was the largest military force the Council had assembled in 3 centuries. It represented the combined might of 47 civilizations. High Counselor Vexthor himself commanded from the flagship, a massive vessel called the Eternal Order. He stood on the bridge, his scales gleaming with confidence. Open channel to the human homeworld, he ordered. Admiral Chen received the transmission in Earth's Defense Command Center. Vexthor's face appeared on her screen. He looked smug, certain of victory. I am High Counselor Vexthor, he began. You have defied the Galactic Council. You have attacked our ships. You have spread lies about our actions on Mars. These crimes cannot stand. I offer you one chance at mercy. Surrender now. Submit to Council authority. Your people will be relocated peacefully. Resist and your world will burn. Chen let the silence stretch for a moment. Then she smiled. It was not a kind smile. High Counselor, I am Admiral Sarah Chen. You murdered our citizens. You invaded our home. You threaten us with annihilation. And you call your actions civilization. She leaned forward. Let me show you what real civilization looks like. We will not surrender. We will not submit. And when this is over, you will beg us for mercy. Vexthor's smugness faltered for a second. Then he recovered. You have 800 ships. We have 4,000. The mathematics are simple. Mathematics, Chen agreed. Yes, let us discuss mathematics. You have 4,000 ships built using 40-year-old technology. Ships designed to intimidate primitives, not fight wars. We have 800 ships built specifically to kill yours. You have crews trained in peacekeeping and occupation. We have crews trained in warfare. You have commanders who have never lost a battle, because they have never faced real opposition. We have studied every battle in galactic history and learned from them all. She paused. But the most important difference, High Counselor, is this. You are fighting for pride. We are fighting for survival. And humans are very, very good at surviving. Vexthor cut the transmission. All ships attack formation. Prepare to advance. The Council Armada began its slow, steady approach to Earth. They moved in perfect formation, a demonstration of order and discipline. Their strategy was simple, overwhelming firepower. They would roll over the human fleet like a wave crushing sand. Admiral Chen watched them come. They are doing exactly what we predicted. Webb, activate the minefield. Commander Webb entered the activation codes. Across the solar system, between the orbit of Mars and Jupiter, 50,000 objects that the Council had dismissed as asteroids came to life. They were not asteroids. They were mines. Smart mines with limited propulsion and very large explosive yields. The mines activated their engines and swarmed toward the Council fleet like angry bees. The Council point defense systems opened fire, destroying hundreds of mines, but there were thousands more. They impacted against shields, detonating in brilliant flashes of light. The Council shields held, but they were draining power. Every impact weakened them, and the mines kept coming. Deploy fighters, Vexthor ordered. Clear those mines. 2,000 Council fighters launched from their carriers. They were small, agile craft flown by skilled pilots. They began systematically destroying the mines, creating safe corridors for the Armada to advance. Chen had expected this too. Launch the Wasps. From Earth and its orbital stations, 500 small human fighters launched. They were called Wasps for good reason. They were tiny compared to Council fighters, barely larger than atmospheric aircraft, but they were fast. Incredibly fast. The Wasps tore through space at accelerations that would kill most Council species. Humans could survive higher G-forces than most aliens. The Wasp pilots wore special suits that let them push even harder. They hit the Council fighter screen like bullets. The engagement was chaotic and brutal. Council fighters were larger and had stronger shields, but the Wasps were faster and more maneuverable. Human pilots flew in ways that violated Council fighter doctrine. They pulled turns that seemed impossible. They used the mines as cover, as weapons, as obstacles to hide behind. In the first 5 minutes, 100 Council fighters were destroyed. Only 20 Wasps were lost. The Council had better technology, but the humans had better tactics and better pilots. High Counselor Vexthor watched the battle displays with growing concern. How are they doing this? Their ships should not be able to maneuver like that. His chief scientist, a nervous creature named Plix, provided the answer. The human pilots are pulling 13 Gs in those turns, Counselor. Most of our species would die at 9. Humans are physically more robust than we realized. Vexthor's hands clenched. Then we use our capital ships. No amount of maneuverability can save them from a dreadnought's main guns. All heavy ships open fire on the human fleet. The Council dreadnoughts charged their main weapons. These were massive plasma cannons that could destroy a city with a single shot. 20 dreadnoughts fired simultaneously at the human capital ships. But the human ships were not where the targeting computers said they should be. They had moved. Not a lot, just enough. The plasma bolts passed through empty space. How did they know? Vexthor demanded. We did not broadcast our targeting data. They must have hacked our systems, Plix said quietly. They knew where we were aiming before we fired. This was exactly what had happened. Dr. Okafor's electronic warfare team had broken into the Council combat network 10 minutes into the battle. They could see everything the council saw. They could read every order before it was executed. It was like playing a game where you could see your opponent's cards. Incoming transmission, Webb reported. It is being broadcast on all council frequencies. A new voice came over the speakers. It was not Admiral Chen. It was someone speaking in the Draknor language, then the hive speech of the insectoids, then a dozen other languages. The message was the same in all of them. Soldiers of the council, you are fighting for leaders who murder civilians, leaders who call conquest civilization, leaders who will sacrifice you for their pride. We do not want to kill you. We want justice. Withdraw now, go home. Tell your people the truth about what happened here. You do not have to die for Vexthor's mistakes. The message played on every council ship, in engineering sections, in crew quarters, in fighter cockpits. The council could not block it. It was coming from their own communication systems. Vexthor was furious. They have compromised our entire network. Switch to backup systems. Maintain radio silence. Continue the attack. But the damage was done. Council crews were hearing an alternative message. Some were wavering. Not many, but enough to create doubt. The human fleet chose this moment to attack. They had been holding position, defending. Now they went on offense. 800 human ships split into attack groups and dove into the council formation. They did not fight like the council expected. There was no orderly exchange of fire, no battle line. The humans attacked like wolves hunting a herd. They targeted isolated ships, overwhelming them with concentrated fire before moving to the next target. They used hit-and-run tactics, striking and disappearing before the council could respond. They launched new weapons the council had never seen before. One weapon was particularly terrifying. The council called them kinetic javelins when they finally understood what they were seeing. They were simple in concept. A long metal rod with a small guidance system and a big engine. No explosive. No warhead. Just mass and velocity. The javelins accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed before impacting council ships. The kinetic energy was enormous. They punched through shields like they were not there. They tore through armor like paper. One javelin hit a council cruiser and went straight through, entering at the bow and exiting at the stern. The ship broke in half. This is primitive, Vexthor shouted at his displays. These are just rocks with engines. Primitive but effective, Plix observed. And impossible to stop with our current countermeasures. The battle raged for 6 hours. The council kept trying to form up to use their numerical advantage. The humans kept disrupting them, forcing small engagements where skill mattered more than numbers. Then Admiral Chen played her final card. Launch the boarding teams. This was something the council had never experienced. Space combat was fought at long range with energy weapons and missiles. No one boarded enemy ships during battle. It was too dangerous, too difficult, too crazy, which meant the council had no defense against it. Human marines in armored suits launched from their ships. They flew across the battlefield using individual propulsion packs. They were small targets, hard to hit. They latched onto council ships and began cutting their way inside. The council's internal security was designed to handle crew disputes, not military assaults. The Marines swept through corridors with ruthless efficiency. They disabled weapons systems. They captured engineering sections. They took control of bridges. In 45 minutes, humans captured 3 council cruisers intact, complete with their crews. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in its 1,000-year history. The grand chamber that usually held calm debates now echoed with shouting voices and accusations. Representatives from all 47 member species filled the seats, but they were not united. They were divided, angry, and afraid. High Counselor Vexthor stood at the center platform, but he no longer stood tall. His scales had lost their luster. His voice had lost its authority. The defeat at Earth had broken something inside him. The humans demand our surrender, he said quietly. They demand I stand trial for war crimes. They demand changes to council law. They demand a seat on this council. Unacceptable, roared Ambassador Zakara. Her mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. They are primitives who hid from us. They attacked council ships. They have no right to make demands. But her voice found less support than she expected. Counselor Tyrrell stood, his blue skin dark with sorrow. They are not primitives. We were fools to think so. They watched us for 50 years. They learned from us. They prepared for the day we would come. And when we came with violence, they responded with greater violence. This is our fault. Our fault? Sakara turned on him. They killed 200 of our ships. After we killed their scientists, Tyrrell replied coldly. After we invaded their system. After we refused their warning. Did you watch the video, Ambassador? Did you see Sergeant Vorn murder that human woman? Did you see our soldiers gun down unarmed civilians? And did you see Commander Krill approve it for broadcast? Silence fell over the chamber. Many had seen the video. Many were ashamed. A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. It belonged to Ambassador Krill, representing the Minoth species. The Minoth were a smaller, weaker species that had been conquered by the Council 2 centuries ago. They rarely spoke in debates, knowing their words carried little weight. But today, Krell stood tall. For 200 years, my people have lived under Council rule. We were told it was for our own good, that we needed guidance, protection, civilization. But we were conquered. Our choices were submit or die. We submitted. We survived. But we remember what freedom was. He looked around the chamber. The humans remind me of what we once were. They saw the Council and chose to hide rather than submit. They prepared rather than trusted. They fought rather than surrendered. And now they offer us something we have not seen in 2 centuries. They offer a council that serves all species, not just the strong. Other small species ambassadors nodded. The council's carefully maintained order was cracking. Species that had been silent for generations were finding their voices. High Counselor Vexthor saw his power slipping away. The humans threaten us with war if we do not comply. We should not negotiate under threat. Then what do you propose? Asked Counselor Tyrrell. That we fight them again? We lost the first battle. We lost ships and pride and the moral authority we claim to have. If we fight again, we will lose more. And this time, the humans will not show mercy. As if summoned by his words, the chamber's communication systems activated. Every screen showed the same image. Admiral Sarah Chen, standing on the bridge of her flagship. Behind her, visible through the windows, was the Council's home system. The human fleet had arrived. Members of the Galactic Council, Chen said. Her voice was calm but firm. I come not as a conqueror, but as a representative of humanity. We seek justice, not vengeance. We seek reform, not destruction. But make no mistake, we will have what we came for. Vexthor's voice shook. You dare enter our home system? This is an act of war. No, Chen corrected. You committed an act of war when you murdered our citizens. This is the consequence. Now you will listen to our terms. She outlined Earth's demands. War crimes trials for those responsible for the Mars massacre. Reparations for the families of the victims. A complete reform of Council First Contact protocols. Protection for developing species. And a seat on the Council for Earth with full voting rights. You ask us to give you equal status? Sakara hissed. You have been in space for barely a century. We ask you to recognize reality, Chen replied. We have proven we are your equals in warfare. Let us prove we can be your equals in peace. Let us help build a better council. One that uplifts rather than conquers. One that protects rather than exploits. She paused. Or you can refuse. You can fight us again. And this time we will not hold back. We will show the galaxy every crime the Council has committed. Every species you have conquered. Every primitive world you have stripped of resources. We have your databases from the ships we captured. We know your secrets, and we will share them. The threat hung in the air. It was not just military defeat the Council faced. It was moral exposure. The revelation of 1,000 years of justified conquest and hidden atrocities. Counselor Tyrrell stood again. I call for a vote. High Counselor Vexthor must stand down. He has led us to disaster, and we must accept the human terms, not because we are weak, but because they are right. The debate that followed lasted 6 hours, but the outcome was inevitable. Vexthor's supporters were few. The evidence of his failures was too clear. The fear of what Earth might reveal was too strong. The vote was called. 38 voices for accepting Earth's terms, 9 against. Vexthor was removed from power. A provisional council was established to oversee the reforms, and Admiral Sarah Chen was invited to join them as Earth's first representative. 3 days later, the war crimes trials began. They were held on a neutral world, broadcast across the galaxy. Sergeant Vorn, Commander Krill, and 6 other Council military personnel stood accused of murdering civilians. The evidence was overwhelming. The video from Mars was played. Witnesses testified. Council legal experts tried to argue that they were following orders, following protocol, following the law. But the judges, selected from multiple species including humans, were not convinced. The verdict was guilty. The sentences were severe. Vorn and 3 others received life imprisonment. Krill lost his command permanently and was stripped of all honors. High Counselor Vexthor faced a separate trial. He was not directly responsible for the murders, but he had approved the broadcast of the killings as propaganda. He had escalated the conflict. He had risked countless lives for his pride. He was found guilty of crimes against sentient species. His sentence was exile. He would live the rest of his long life on a remote world, stripped of power and status, forced to think about what his arrogance had cost. Admiral Chen attended the trials but did not speak. She let justice run its course. When it was over, she gave a single statement to the galactic press. Today, we proved that no one is above accountability. Not soldiers, not commanders, not even high counselors. This is the foundation of the new council we will build together. A council of laws, not power. A council of justice, not conquest. 6 months passed. The reforms were implemented slowly but steadily. First contact protocols were rewritten. Developing species received protections against exploitation. Small species gained more representation. The council, for the first time in its history, began to resemble the noble institution it claimed to be. Earth's contribution went beyond politics. Dr. Okafor shared select human technologies with the council. Medical advances that could cure diseases thought incurable. Agricultural techniques that could feed billions. Energy systems more efficient than anything the council had developed. But more importantly, Earth shared its philosophy of innovation. For centuries, the council had stagnated. They had grown comfortable with their technology, seeing no need to improve. Earth showed them that progress never stops. That adaptation is survival. That even the strong can become stronger. 5 years after the war, Admiral Chen stood once again in the Galactic Council chamber. But this time, she stood as a full member, not a visitor. Around her sat representatives of 63 species now. Earth's reforms had encouraged 16 formerly conquered species to apply for independent membership. All were accepted. The new High Counselor was Tirarel. He had been elected unanimously, respected for his wisdom and his early support of Earth's position. He opened the session with words that would have been unthinkable 5 years earlier. We gather today to discuss the expansion of our exploration programs into uncharted space. Ambassador Chen has proposed a joint mission, human and council ships working together, seeking new life and new civilizations, not to conquer them but to learn from them, to help them if they need it, to leave them alone if they do not. Chen stood to present her proposal. We have learned that the galaxy is full of species at different stages of development. Some are like we were, hiding and watching, waiting to see if the council can be trusted. It is time to earn that trust. The proposal was approved by an overwhelming majority. 3 months later, the first joint exploration fleet departed. 10 ships, 5 human and 5 council with mixed crews. They ventured beyond the known galaxy, seeking what lay beyond. On one of those ships, a young human officer named Lieutenant Marcus Webb Jr. worked alongside a hive engineer named Zixara. She was the daughter of the former ambassador Jakara, who had opposed Earth so strongly, but the daughter was not the mother. She had grown up in the new council, where cooperation was valued over dominance.